So the Zenless Zone Zero patch 1.7 livestream just ended, and in it, they went over all of the cool new things that we can expect when the update arrives later this month on the 23rd of April. Now, whether you missed it or don't have time to rewatch it, I'll give you a quick rundown on everything covered on the stream. First things first though, the redemption code that I'm sure you're all wondering is MOCKINGBIRD. So make sure to redeem this quickly as it only lasts a day. But there is also a Twitter event where you could win 10 master tapes. All you have to do is follow the Twitter account and quote the tweet along with the corresponding hashtag. This Twitter event is also only for a limited time, and as usual, the link to the tweet is in the description below. Let's start off with the main story though. As you would all know, the main story of patch 1.7 will be a continuation of the epilogue from patch 1.6. Where, spoiler alert, Hugo, who was revealed to be a member of the Ravenlock family, has been presumably murdered by Hartman. But we all know that Hugo probably has some sort of scheme running on in the background. And so, in the new story, the mayor of New Eridu will invite Phaethon and Mockingbird, which is now just Vivian, to go undercover behind enemy lines to try and solve the mysteries behind the Sacrifice Core as well as the Big Exaltist scheme. Along the way, as we spend time with her, we will also encounter some people from Vivian's past and learn more about her as time goes on. But it's not just Phaethon and Mockingbird that the mayor has called upon. He's also gotten help from Yi Xuan, who we get to see a little glimpse of here in the trailer, which, might I say, damn. Interestingly though, Lycan described Yi Xuan as a Void Hunter rank special investigator. Not a Void Hunter per se herself, but on a similar rank. Although who knows, maybe eventually she can actually become a Void Hunter herself. For real, one day. In the trailer, we get some glimpses into how Hugo is struggling in the shadows, trying to control his emotions. Presumably going through all of the challenges before coming out as the good guy in the end. But one interesting spot towards the end of the trailer is Phaethon's eyes getting a very distinct glow, which is the same symbol that is used to represent the Void Hunters. Now what exactly this means? I guess we'll have to wait and find out. There were no mentions of separate agent stories this patch, so it could be that the optimisations mentioned in the dev talk earlier this week might already be taking place with a possible Vivian backstory being intertwined nicely within this main story. But if you want more Vivian and Hugo goodness though, you can expect a teaser and a demo for Vivian, and of course an EP for Hugo closer to their banners. But speaking of Vivian and Hugo, we also got the official details for their kits. So let's start off with Vivian. Vivian uses her parasol and sword for her basic attacks, which also restore flight feathers indicated in the top left with the little triangular shapes. She can also use her EX skill to do a burst of damage and also restore a larger amount of these flight feathers. After using her skill, she also enters the hover mode, which is called the fluttering frock, but I'm going to call it hover mode. While in hover mode, she can attack enemies to convert all of her flight feathers into guard feathers, which is now the circular shape. Then, when squad mates hit an enemy with an EX special attack, Vivian will consume those guard feathers to do an attack while off-field. When this off-field attack hits an enemy, they will receive one extra instance of an anomaly damage based on the current attribute anomaly that they are afflicted with. This extra anomaly damage can be seen as the A Bloom effect, similar to Yanagi's special disorders. These off-field attacks also inflict Vivian's prophecy on them, which causes them to take ether damage over time, and trigger an ether anomaly once enough damage is done. Vivian's team bonus increases the corruption and disorder damage when an anomaly or an ether agent is on the team. So basically her gameplay loop involves starting out with Vivian, using her EX skill for flight feathers, then attacking while in flight mode to get guard feathers. After that, switch to your teammates and have them use EX skills and apply tons of anomaly damage. Next up is Hugo Vlad. After certain attacks, he can throw his scythe to do a ranged attack, which can also be charged up by holding down the attack button. Hugo very much wants to work with a stunner, Lycan, because his crit rate and crit damage increases after a chain attack or stunning an enemy. But what's more is that when using his EX special or an ultimate against a stunned enemy, Hugo will trigger a totalize effect, which increases the damage dealt based on the remaining stun duration left. Then, the enemy immediately recovers from the stun and has an amount of days directly applied to them instantly, letting you stun them again sooner and then triggering totalize again. If his EX special hits an enemy that is not stunned, then the attack will deal increased days. So for Hugo's gameplay loop, you use someone to stun the enemy, then have Hugo switch in and use his EX special to totalize them for big damage, and then you rinse and repeat. In the first half of patch 1.7, we will have Vivian's banner, but to go alongside her, we will also have a rerun of Jane Doe at the same time. Perfect for some anomaly disorder shenanigans. The A ranks on both of their banners will be Piper and Seth. Meanwhile, for Hugo's banner, in the second half, there will also be a rerun of Lighter, the perfect stunner to go alongside him with the ice damage buffs and the extended stun timers. On these second half banners, the featured A ranks will be Sokaku and Anton. But next up is the most important part of Mockingbird, and that is going to be the S rank BANGBOO, Robin, who only needs one of the Mockingbird members in the team to activate its passive, which is very nice. Although we will also be getting a free A-rank BANGBOO called Overtime Boo, who is literally just me. The way you can get Overtime Boo is from an in-game event, which we will go over right now. In the event Say It With Flowers, we will help Orchidea run a flower stand and do some flower arrangements for various limited time rewards, one of which includes copies of Overtime Boo. Next, for those that enjoy the BANGBOO Fall Guys mode, it's making a comeback in BANGBOO Bash. But more importantly, it's coming back with a ranked mode, where you can earn some rewards all the way up until Diamond rank. Then the event A Tale Through the Looking Glass has proxies going to write a little novel and earn rewards for it using similar mechanics to the previous HIA training course event, where you can assign agents to various nodes for rewards. The Springtime Snap Shows event will put your photography skills to the test. Unfortunately though, it won't be combat photos like last time, but instead you can set up some nice scenic shots in the overworld with your agents. The Chef BANGBOO is also making a comeback in another pop-up store in Savor the Flavor Citywide Delivery, where we essentially act as Uber Eats, delivering food orders all around the city. Otherwise, throughout the patch, you can expect the regular events such as a login event for 10 encrypted master tapes, as well as 10 boopons, and of course double drops for routine cleanup for your discs and combat simulation for your upgrade materials. Lastly, for some small optimizations we can expect in patch 1.7, they've made it easier to mark discs now in the menus. For example, you can now mark discs for dismantling even if they are already locked. Although unfortunately, still no loadouts for your discs, which is the only optimization I really want. Otherwise, after completing your 3 notorious hunts for the week, you can go right back into the no rewards mode or the mode where you use energy for rewards, without having to go back to the previous menus. Essentially, these are just so you spend less time clicking around in menus. The one other optimization is that now, when you spend quality time with your agents, they will actually have fully voiced lines instead of just awkwardly following you around in silence. And then lastly, there was a friendly reminder that later today there will be a live stream discussing the Zenless Zone Zero release on the Xbox. Otherwise, for the most part, it does feel like this is a more reserved patch in terms of new stuff, which again is understandable. We've sort of come to expect that for these odd-numbered patches, and I'm sure a lot of effort is instead being directed towards the next patch, which is probably going to be patch 2.0. So a lot of the events in this patch 1.7 are mostly rehashes of previous events, but with a nice coat of paint on them. However, I'm sure we're all excited to see the conclusion of the Season 1 story and find out what exactly is going on with the Exaltists and the Sacrifice Corps, and also what's going to happen to Phaethon. But to do that, we'll just have to wait until patch 1.7 releases for Zenless Zone Zero on the 23rd of April later this month. Otherwise, for now, thank you all for watching. As always, liking, commenting, and subscribing is greatly appreciated. And until next time, bye bye!